Thought I would just share with everyone here what I learned teaching online for 2.5 years and how I can bring what I learned over to in-person. Teaching online the attendance was very high. I almost always got 98 to 100% attendance, and I was quite surprised by that. Probably because it was easy to be logged in and multitask by having lunch or dinner or whatever students were doing at the same time, be in the class. It was very useful. The second thing was students seemed to be participating a lot more in discussions. So I would start the class with a question, and students would discuss in small groups and then try to answer that question. And then at the end of the class, we would go back to that question and see whether we all got the answer correct and matched with what it's supposed to be. So that kind of set up the entire class for online. And it also set the mode for the class, and the question was usually for what we're going to be learning throughout the class. It's kind of set the agenda for the class. And I was not doing that before when we were in person. I would just go straight into discussions, not setting an agenda. So while teaching online, I learned that setting an agenda keeps them kind of engaged because they know what's coming up in the class. And then the second thing I observed was when you made use of the breakout rooms, the students were extremely relaxed because they were in a much smaller group. And the questions they were asking, and I would go and go to each breakout room while they were working on their problem solving, and I would participate with them and help them along to find the solution. So that worked out really well. And again, that's another thing that I was not doing before. I used to just have the entire class discuss all throughout the problem-solving session, and things were noisy, and people were not able to pay attention to what they were doing because it was quite distracting. So the breakout rooms really helped, and the kind of questions students asked when they were in smaller groups were a lot more challenging and showed that they were thinking about the problem a lot more deeply than before. That was very encouraging. And third thing I learned was to do a wrap-up. After we did the breakout room, we would come back and I would share with the entire class what the different groups were doing, and that kind of tied up the entire topic for the day. One thing that's kind of worked in my favor was my classes are usually long because they're 2 hours 45 minutes long, and I teach in the evenings. So that long time period gives me a good length of time to kind of teach in segments. I don't have to do a long lecture for 2.5 hours, but kind of break it into segments so students are able to grasp concepts in smaller doses than in a long lecture. So I'm kind of thinking about bringing the same practice into in-person teaching. But one thing I observed in the first week of classes is that the attendance has gone down to about 47%. I'm hoping that's only because this is the first week of class. But using the setting up the agenda worked really well yesterday. I taught Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 3 classes, and all the 3 classes students loved having the agenda and setting the tone for the 2.5 hours session, and then breaking out into smaller groups and using the tables to kind of sit around rather than sit in a row, and being able to discuss and me walking around and helping each of the groups, that helped them. That seemed to catch on very quickly. Even on the first day of class, it was very useful. And doing the wrap up at the end was also very useful. I think I see already, even though we have just had one session, students are more engaged. I kind of did not go over the syllabus because they have the syllabus on Canvas. So students were okay with that. We don't have to go over syllabus or any of that. We did go over what's set up for the entire semester, like projects and exams. And other than that, we didn't touch upon the syllabus. We went directly into the subject matter. And that was, I asked the students at the end of the class, and the feedback was that they were grateful to dive directly into the subject rather than spend some time, spend the entire first session just talking about the syllabus. So that was useful too.